focus. Get rid of any of those pressure thoughts and really center yourself, like where you're at and the shot you're throwing. Trying to just really let everything besides the basket bleed away.
Welcome back. Eagles' dad taking in the action, Pat McMahon. Also our event director in Steve Bro. Here we are with Kelvin Heimberg on the tee of 2. Prime position for Heimberg. And about as good of a position as you could ask for right here up on the plateau. Nice flat run up for Eagles' second shot. Here's Chris Dickerson.
Oh, did he hit that pole?
How does that one post keep him from landing on the flat spot? We'll take another look at Kelvin Heimberg's drive. You could push it a little bit longer, but you lose footing. You don't gain anything by adding an extra 40 or 50 feet to that drive. So Kelvin really in great position right there. Any distance past that is going to make your footing and your run up a little bit more awkward. Dana, let's take a look at the hole, this par 4, hole number 2.
Yeah, 725 feet long. Players first have to navigate their way through this hallway, so to speak. One of the tighter fairways that you have to hit out here at the Steel Club. Once you navigate your way through there, come up to this flat area, and really you need to be on the flat area to have a good chance at getting to the green. The further up you are, the better. If you're in about the middle of that flat zone, it's 400 to the bucket. But this part we're flying over here is a very narrow part of the fairway with the left side out of bounds. Thick, tall stuff on the right. This green we are approaching is in bounds. It's the one green out here today that is in bounds, but behind the green slopes off to out of bounds. Now this hole is a pretty tough birdie 3, so James, if he can get himself up there and put himself in position for a par, he has a chance at pushing the hole.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he has anything too fast in his hand. Something slower to keep good control over the disc.
Yeah, so he's going to find himself in the position where he wanted his tee shot to land, more or less.
And while the rest of the players get into position, I'm going to ask Nate Perkins, who is out on the ground. Nate, What does it look like for James Conrad? Is he going to be able to save the 4 from where he's at?
James can definitely save the 4. He's going to have some tough footing on the side hill. He's got about 350 to the pin.
My call? Yep, you first. Okay.
And so this shows you a little of the gamesmanship and fun and camaraderie that we're seeing out here this weekend. A little rock, paper, scissors to figure out who's going to go first. And Eagle won and then said he wants Chris to go first. So he'll be able to react from that. And that's going to be so crucial as this match rolls on.
It's a definite advantage approaching a tricky shot like this to have your competitor throw first. Eagle will know if he has to put it near the bucket or if he can play a little more conservative if Chris were to find the out of bounds. And we got to say, Chris, he's getting a double punishment here. Threw a beautiful tee shot, was going to get back to the flat part of the fairway, caught this golf tee sign. Unfortunately, it's pinched him up a little bit too, so this a difficult shot just got tougher.
Yeah, and when you go to a standstill, you automatically lose some distance rather than if you had a full run up.
Leaks out to the left, and wow, ultimately he's going to get the out of bounds flag. Chris Dickerson with the awkward footing, having to worry about the golf sign. And that ultimately leaks out. Now Eagle can play it so much more conservative knowing that Chris is out of bounds. He's just trying to win the hole.
Yeah, Eagle smartly playing the sidearm, but leaving it a little bit short.
It's still safe, and he should have a relatively easy up and down to put it under the basket.
Calvin with the longest drive of the group, still finding himself with pretty good footing. Calvin also going to have an opportunity to go 2 up after 2 if he can put this one close.
Yeah, as Nate said, James still has an opportunity to put himself up at the basket, and so Calvin's going to have to put it close if he's going to want to walk away with this hole. I think a little bit of a misfire.
Yeah, he hung that a little bit right. He was looking to get some action off that short golf green grass. Flared up to the basket. He'll have a long birdie putt, but right now the pressure solely on James's shoulders. He did make a really nice recovery shot to put him up into this spot.
But you can see that he is a little bit on that slope. Let's see if he has some odd footing.
Conrad with the opportunity to still save the par. I'll take another look at that.
Yeah, this one hits the golf green with perfect speed. Right there. Dewy morning out at the Steel Club. Calvin now with the chance to hit a big putt and go up 2 on James.
Of course, these are 12-hole matches. However, we've seen a few of those matches extend past the 12 holes because it hadn't been decided. We've also seen a few of the matches end early because, well, one of the opponents had run out of time and there simply weren't enough holes for them to win. And so the matches can end early. So I know some people are asking, will the winner for sure play 24 holes today? The winner could play as few as 14 holes if they won each match in just 7 holes. That would be more than a perfect day out here, so to speak, if somehow you were able to eliminate your opponent in just 7 holes both times today, though. I'm not going to count on that. I don't know what the prize picks line is on that, but I don't think it's going to be that low.
Now, Calvin, a lot shorter than we thought here in the booth. This is just going to be a layup.
Calvin gets it up close. It's a little bit of pressure for James to make. I think he's about 20 feet out.
Speaking of matches ending early, both Eagle McMahon's matches have ended early here this week. Round 1, Colton Montgomery.
So Chris Dickerson is going to need to put this in. That would be for Chris to get a 4, and if he were to somehow put this in, and Eagle would then tap in his shot, the two of them would tie on this hole. That means no points would be awarded. No one would be winning the hole outright. Chris does it. He cans it.
What a shot.
Stealing the hole from Eagle McMahon. Chris Dickerson saves the par. He will have the hole. Unbelievable.
And that's what match play is all about. We're not going to see an aggressive play like that out of Chris Dickerson next weekend or last weekend. Beautifully done.
My heart is racing. What a shot. And Eagle McMahon thinking he's going to go 2 up on this match now remains just at 1. Unbelievable.
Now Calvin's pretty close to the basket, so James has some pressure. There is OB behind the basket.
And just a few moments ago, Eagle was thinking he was going to win this hole with the par, and instead he taps in. And it's going to be a tie with Chris Dickerson. And we have it officially marked at 101 feet. Chris Dickerson, I don't even know how much of the basket he could see from there. And he cans it.
Typical Chris Dickerson reaction right there. A little wave to the cheering fans and over to the basket to hole out.
Wow, you got to wonder if that's just a little bit of foreshadowing for what we're going to see the rest of this match. Chris Dickerson, the out-of-bounds penalty, but makes up for it, again, taking one from Eagle that Eagle thought he had all wrapped up. As we're looking at Paige Pierce and Sarah Hokum getting ready for their matchup. We're going to take another look. This is Chris Dickerson's shot coming in from the catch angle. Of course, way down below the basket. Hits high chains. It grabs it. Wow. And
man, what a shot. It being uphill, he had to throw it just past, just over the ground. He couldn't have gotten a lot of air under it because you're throwing in the angle to hit the basket. You saw it caught the top of the chains and almost went flying over it. So great angle control, great shot by Chris Dickerson.
Again, Eagles still out in front. However, a few moments ago, he thought he was going to be a 2-up on Dickerson, and instead, just 1.
Now, we saw Eagle put a little extra oomph into this tee shot yesterday. Let's see how we can follow that one up right here.
This looks like more turn than what we saw yesterday, and exactly that. Turning over too hard. He still is in bounds, but not the shot that we had yesterday from Eagle McMahon.
I feel like that had to be a little rattling for Eagle, seemingly in similar fashion to the Paul Macbeth James Conrad, thinking it was over. He's going to win the hole, but tremendous shot by Chris. And
a very different approach that we see here by Chris Dickerson, just going straight up at it, really not even trying to turn that over. I think he's accounting for the wind, and maybe what he just saw from Eagle's shot actually affected his game plan here. Now here's Calvin Heimberg.
yeah, hole 3's been playing great all weekend. There's a number of ways to attack it. Still get the birdie.
Heimberg also trying to go that inside route, hits a late tree. Again, overturned, but he continues to fight all the way through. He'll have the best look at it. And if you missed the action yesterday, exclusively on the Disc Golf Network, here's the shot by Eagle McMahon. We can go ahead and call this the best tee shot that we've seen in 2021, this 700-footer. Eagle putting the hurt on it. The turnover, flexes back, and he has a drop-in putt. Incredible by Eagle McMahon. Now it looks like we're going to get over to the FPO action, our final 4.
From Plano, Texas, Paige Pierce. Idaho, Sarah Hokum. Gannon versus your 4 seed and reigning DGPT champion, Haley King. Team Missy Gannon. Next up on the tee, Haley King.
All 4 drives from the FPO division inbounds on hole 1. They have a slightly different tee. We'll come back to them in a moment. Now we're going to rejoin hole number 3 and Chris Dickerson's second shot. It's a little bit of a tree assist. I don't think that hurt Dickerson's shot at all. Calvin looks right around circle's edge. Eagle's second shot.
Great approach by Eagle.
Four very different approach shots from each of our players here. James finding himself nearly pin high right. Gonna be throwing uphill, needing to avoid the trees on the right.
We're going to rejoin the women on hole number 1. There are a few different pars and tees and pins when it comes to the FPO division. Specifically on hole 1, they have a shorter tee, but it is to the same pin placement.
Sarah Holcomb puts it up right by the basket. Among these 4 players yesterday, Missy Gannon was the only one that didn't card the birdie on hole 1.
With Eagle right next to the basket, Chris Dickerson is going to need to make this putt.
This is an uphill putt.
Oh, and that disc just got pushed straight down by that wind.
Now Calvin on the other side of the basket is going to have a headwind to contend with. Wind not necessarily a factor the first 2 days out here.
And no problems for Heimberg. Worst case scenario, he will tie on the hole. And Conrad answers. Chris has conceded to Eagle. So Eagle can just pick up, meaning Eagle has won the hole. We're back with Missy Gannon on 1.
There's the birdie Missy missed out on yesterday.
Yeah, she left herself just a little short and wasn't able to convert on a putt yesterday, but it seems that she's not left herself much of a putt for today.
Holcomb will need this putt. And she makes it.
And that was a little bid for eagle from Paige there. Hole 1, I'd call it a little bit of a softer par 4 for these elite FPO players. A little confidence builder for Haley there and Sarah.
Paige and Missy should just be able to tap out and no holes to be won on hole 1.
And that's what you're seeing right there, the AS. That stands for all square. I guess it's just another way of saying they're essentially tied through the match. Again, all square. And as you were just talking about what someone had taken on a previous day, sometimes even those statistics can be a little bit misleading because there's a time where a player may have a look at a birdie, but because they're already beating their opponent on that hole or they're almost guaranteed to beat them, they may just pitch it underneath the basket. So kind of interesting to note that as we move into these final rounds, what you did on a previous hole may or may not be indicative of what was really needed at that time. Here's Calvin Heimberg on 4. James with his long hair, tall guy, long run-up problems. None of those, I think, would factor in if any of us were out there throwing. And none of us would be putting it that close either. James Conrad, great look at birdie here on 4.
Speak for yourself, Terry Miller. Now James's shot did finish to the left. There is out of bounds on the left that you need to avoid.
Short but safe for McMahon. See if that hooks up enough. And even closer for Chris Dickerson. So McMahon will likely putt first. Now we're back on the tee of 2.
Missy not quite either getting some height or the hyzer angle right on that disc. It's not OB on the right-hand side. It's just some tall grass and awkward footing.
The spotter really just pointing to the area. I was a little confused about the red flag, but looks as if they were just indicating where she was.
Haley also probably could have gotten a little bit more air under that to get it up over the hill. She'll have a little bit of weird footing there.
Yeah, the players really need to test the ceiling here if they want their disc to hyzer back to the left and not find the tall grass on the right.
Just a few feet off of perfect for Paige Pierce. Still in a great position. Of course, she would love that short grass, but
Yeah, Paige has so much power, puts so much spin on the disc that once it hits the ground, it just wants to skip off to the side.
These are the shots that I love to see Sarah Hokum throw. She goes for the right hand forehand and makes it fly like a right hand backhand.
She
Such
has
skill.
So much angle control with those understable discs.
she gets it to flip up, but doesn't have enough air underneath it, and she's going to be out of position with an awkward stance over there. Here's Kelvin Heimberg from circle 2.
It's right to left wind, so he's got to be careful showing the bottom of the disc to the wind.
Especially on an elevated basket. It's tricky.
The spotter running over, and it looks like that may have hit and even rolled past the basket, and it's found the out of bounds. So here's a perfect scenario where James Conrad could likely just, or will, or should, just pitch it up right underneath the basket, and then he can tap in. All he needs is the 3. Anything other than that won't do him any good.
It looked good on U-Disc seeing it too, but this weekend does not matter.
And Eagle cashes his putt. Yeah, I should clarify. James could take the 2. Of course, that'd be great. But whether he takes the 2 or 3, it doesn't matter. He's just trying to win the hole.
Now the pressure on Chris to make a, well, it's a very makeable putt.
And he answers. So they will tie on this hole. And at that point, Kelvin allows James just to pick up. He doesn't even make him a pitch up or complete the hole. Kelvin conceding, which is essentially saying, hey, you've won this hole. And that will bring their match back to all square. So James Conrad has just won that hole. Kelvin won an earlier one, and that's why they are square through the match. Quick overview of 2, and here's Sarah Hokum. Now she's really just playing a little bit past what would be the normal landing zone on 1, and it finally sits down. She's going to have more than 350 feet to the pin from there. That's going to be a tall task for Hokum.
Yeah, but I feel like hole 2 is one of those holes where you can miss your tee shot, and because it's such a difficult birdie to get, that if you can throw a couple good recovery shots, you're able to have or push the hole.
We should also clarify that hole 2 is playing as a par 5 for the women. It is considered a par 4 for the men, but it is a par 5 for the women.
Yeah, so now you see Paige with the putter in her hand. Because Sarah still has a little ways to go, Paige is going to opt to play a little more conservative.
And as I was just separating what the pars are out here, Dana, would it be fair to say that par is almost completely irrelevant during this entire match, isn't it? You're just trying to beat the other competitor by a stroke or more.
No doubt, Terry. And a lot of people will say that par is irrelevant even on a regular weekend. But today, this weekend, all about beating your opponent on the particular hole. Par doesn't matter.
And as opposed to stroke play, nothing carries over, just like skins or stroke play. Nothing carries over to the next hole. So if you take a 3 on one hole and your opponent takes a 12, you guys, the hole will be won by the person with the 3. You go to the very next hole, Everything resets. And Missy shot earlier had gone out of bounds. But now here we are with McMahon. Low and out of position for McMahon.
Yeah, we saw a number of rollers yesterday. The wind is up a little bit. Grass wet. Looks like Dickerson's still going to go to the ground.
It's such a tough tee shot. You have the uphill that you're trying to battle, but you also have, you see the branch that's hanging low that creates a low ceiling effect.
And if this can just finish to the right a little bit, he'll be in prime position. But you have a huge advantage if you can get your drive to the top of that hill or even beyond. Because Eagle's first going to have to navigate himself by his shot by throwing over the hill. Before approaching that tough green.
I don't feel like we've seen too many players go to the right of this tree, and that's exactly what Conrad seems to be lining up.
Probably going to be a really overstable disc.
And after Missy had gone out of bounds, here's her next shot.
Gets it up high, and it's on the green, but not quite in putting distance. That roll away was unfortunate. She had the forehand landing in a good position, but that hill just decided to take it away.
Haley's in great position to win the hole, but out of position is going to be Calvin Heimberg hitting left side, dropping down. And the battle will continue as they move up on hole 5. We're back to hole 2 with Sarah Holcomb throwing her third.
And so now Sarah's a little short as well, not necessarily in putting range, so Paige is able to just pitch up to the basket and win a hole.
And as Calvin gets into position, I want to check in with Nate. Nate, talk to us about the winds today as opposed to what we've seen over the last 2 days out there.
Yeah, this is the windiest day thus far. There are some protected fairways. Hole 5 here is pretty protected. But when we get out into the open, we've got a slight 8 to 10 mile per hour breeze out of the northeast.
Wow, that kick looked to be favorable for Heimberg. It looked like that was going to push up to the right side, probably creating a few obstacles between him and the basket, but it kicked back into the fairway. At best, though, he's looking at a 4, barring a long throw in. And here we are looking at the weather conditions. As Nate mentioned, just about an hour from Philadelphia, not too far from Allentown as well, where we saw the 2005 Worlds played. Here we are with Paige's third shot. Just trying to skip it across the green. And that seems to be the common miss that we've had out here. A lot of players know that green is just short of the basket. I feel like they're trying to play to it and then use that short grass to skip across it. However, more often than not, it doesn't do that.
Yeah, they're getting the right idea, but just not quite putting enough spin on the disc for it to keep traveling forward towards the basket. And that might be some, nerves, or they're being a little timid because there's OB behind the basket, so they don't want to overshoot it.
Dana, you mentioned how much more difficult this hole is if you don't make it to the top of the hill, and you see the angle Eagle has to put on that. And that's going to be short, but still a makeable putt for McMahon.
Yeah, nice little forward kick off a branch for Eagle.
see all the danger that can be found on that green. Surprisingly, and I'm hoping not to jinx anyone, but surprisingly, we haven't seen too many rollaways on this green, but we know that they're looming. Seth Fenley, our official on the card, taking a look at Sarah Holcomb's disc to determine if that's inbounds or not.
Don't look at me. It's your call.
Sarah deferring to the official that's out there. Seth faced with a difficult decision. You can tell he didn't think it was obvious, so be anxious to see what is the ultimate result. Well, now we're back with James Conrad.
Looks like James gonna play the crash. Almost reminds me of what we see out at Milo, Beaver State Fling, that big left to right Anheuser crash that the players play on hole 2 of the West Course. Didn't quite work out for James there.
And we are getting word that Sarah Holcomb was declared out of bounds with the shot that you saw. So Paige is being short on her putt. We could likely just see her even lay that up. Seems to be a popular spot over there today on that right hillside, or the hillside short of the pin to our right.
Speaking of spot, I hope we have some spotters with some eyes on those discs. As yesterday it took a couple minutes to find Double G Garrett Gerthy's shot in that thick rough, or shoal, if you will. Not a whole lot of rough to contend with out here at the Steel Club.
Looks like the search party's on. Here's Missy Gannon. And the position in which she sees Haley. Now we're going to be back with Calvin Heimberg.
And now Haley just needs to pitch up after Missy giving it an aggressive bid.
And both Paige and Haley would go on to win hole 2. So we see that Paige is one up, as is King. We're hearing after that out of bounds declaration, Holcomb essentially just told Paige she could pick it up as she was conceding the hole. Hence Paige goes one up on the match. Back with Chris Dickerson. Him and his outfit are really going to blend in here.
Again with that green putter that he threw in. Trying to do it again there. Better opportunity for eagle here.
It's not quite getting the height on the disc.
Yeah, gravity taking control quickly there of Eagle's putter.
Yeah, anytime you're looking uphill at a basket in a putting stance, it's just really hard to get that extra power built up.
As you were just saying, Christine, not enough for James. It looked like he also had maybe some sticks or some of that brush poking him in the back or just irritating him enough that he couldn't quite put that one in. Players agree that they can just pick them up. They're going to give each other those putts. All part of the friendly nature, what can be perceived as friendly nature at least, within match play. We're back on 3 with Pierce.
And hole 3 is the same tee pad as the men. See Paige just putting it nicely in the middle of the fairway.
Paige should have an advantage of being able to see the basket from her approach shot.
Sarah put herself to the right side of the fairway yesterday. She had those trees to contend with. Slightly better angle for her approach today.
Haley King going with the inside route.
Yeah, there is a green that's OB off to the left. If they were to go to the left side of those trees, if they hyzer out too much, they're contending with that OB, and so I feel like a lot of them are just trying to err onto that right side.
Yeah, we haven't really seen many players on either side challenge that out of bounds green here on hole 3. Most opting to cut the distance off and play to this right side here.
That's great position for Missy Gannon. We're partaking in some refreshments there. So we're just about to the halfway point. Hole number 6. I should clarify what may or may not be the halfway point. There's really no true definition out here.
Are those spectators we see down at the green?
They've all collected. Looks like they're taking advantage of some of the shade that they're finding down there. Conrad's tee shot gives him a look at a long birdie putt. Gonna quickly jump back over to Sarah Hokum, throwing her second on hole 3. The approach plays downhill. But she's gonna be short. That's gonna be a long putt for Hokum. Here's Heimberg. Oh, and almost skipping it in. Trying to win the hole the easy way.
And that's how you do it. Calvin was able to put it on the top of the hill yesterday as well.
not many players able to do that on hole 6. We've seen a lot of out-of-bounds throws, either long right or short left.
Yeah, it's a challenging tee shot because you have to set it ideally on the mound is the best approach.
Here's Gannon second.
Oh, and she puts a little bit too much speed on there and goes slightly past the basket. We saw some putting woes on that green yesterday by the FPO field.
And Chris will be closer. He'll be able to react to what he sees from Eagle. And we're going to jump back to Paige's second shot on hole number 3.
Paige is looking to get this close.
Oh, and that will put all pressure on Holcomb to make from outside, somewhere near circle 2. And Holcomb, knowing that Paige is all but automatic from that distance, this gives her a green light. It's either the bottom of the basket, she needs to put this in, or it doesn't really matter where it goes. This is all or nothing. And that is just to push the hole.
You can see by her ponytail that the wind is right to left. And any crosswind really isn't very favorable for trying to run a basket.
A good bid, but short. Paige will likely take the hole. If so, she will go 2 up on Holcomb. Here's Haley's second shot. And in much better position than her opponent, Missy.
Man, and James took his time on that one.
With Calvin up close near the basket with an ace run that sat nicely. James needing that to have the hole.
And again, a crucial moment here, because if Eagle is in fact out of bounds, Chris can just lay up underneath the pin. Let's talk to Nate Perkins. Nate, have they located it? Is he in bounds or not?
Eagle is out of bounds. They're just trying to find exactly where he went out.
And Eagle Calvin will tap in, I should say. Eagle actually just picked up his disc, and they're not even going to play it out. So again, that's all about match play. Eagle at best was going to card a 4, and he knew that all Chris Dickerson would have to do is pitch up underneath the pin. He would be able to tap in for the 3. And actually, Eagle said, we're not going to go through any of that. Let's just pick up. I will concede the hole, and they move on. So that's what some would refer to as a gimme. Also, we see a lot of conceding of holes and shots where sometimes the players, like I said, will just pick it up and move on, not requiring a putt out or for players to complete the hole.
So Haley's missing short.
It looked like Haley was actually outside of Missy's.
And Haley seemed to be in the same position where we saw the MPO with some tailwind. And so you see that disc got dropped down.
And Missy can't take advantage of it. And this is Pierce to win the hole.
Oh.
Also not taking advantage. So you said it yesterday, some putting woes on hole number 3 and some missed opportunities. Chris Dickerson, solid roller here on the TS7.
Got a slight left to right tailwind. Perfect for some maximum distance shots here.
You called for it, Dana. Maximum distance it is. Wow, and you see how he's come up just short of the circle 2 flags there on the ground. That's incredible.
And this is a par 4. This is not a par 3. It's Eagle McMahon nearly putting it into circle 2 from the tee. Calvin also with a lead distance. See if he can connect.
Calvin left side of fairway, landing over by what we'll see in a little while, the tee of 11. That's also fading off to the left side. He'll be not too far from Calvin, actually. Dana, you reminded us that this is a par 4. Well, Eagle also knew that hole number 3 was a par 4 at 700 feet. Is this one of the longest air shots we'll see this year?
Might be. And is there a better duo than Eagle McMahon and his DD3? I don't think I've seen a better duo since maybe Bone and Biggie back in '97.
Nate let us know that that shot was 680 feet that Eagle just threw. Unbelievable.
Safe tee shot for King here on 4.
Hole 4 of the FPO does have a shorter basket at 350 feet. They don't have much OB to contend with. The left side trees are not OB. If they go past the basket, there will be OB back there.
Page likes the shot. That'll be a little bit short, as you just mentioned, Christine. 350 feet for the FPO, 435 for the MPO. So
yeah, and it
slightly
seems to
different
be
configuration.
Relatively flat ground, so 350 feet, it's probably a pretty accurate distance. And they're going to want to come in on some hyzer, so anytime you throw a disc on that hyzer angle, you're eating a little bit more distance. You know, you're going to have to put more power behind it. Paige just a little bit too high to get enough distance to reach the basket.
And James with this upshot, we can see the sand trap left. That is a hazard. But what we can't see is the golf green beyond the basket. James did find it with his upshot yesterday, so he's looking to correct that mistake here.
Good correction by James.
That'll put all the pressure squarely back on Calvin to get up and down, get the birdie 3. But first we've got Chris Dickerson from the high right side of the fairway.
It's a little bit tougher angle. He's got the slope to contend with and trees on the right.
And that just may be giving the hole over to Eagle as he finds the OB. And Heimberg matches the shot he saw from his opponent. I think we're going to see them tie on this hole. Now we're back to Sarah Holcomb going with the backhand tee shot on 4.
Yeah, only one of a few holes that she'll be throwing backhand off the tee. Get some good distance, but just not quite enough left.
And Eagle is jump putting on a 765-foot hole for the Eagle. Just to put that into perspective, and he will have the tap in. In fact, I'm guessing Chris Dickerson won't even require that. This is Haley King for her birdie look on 4.
Flashes just short of the basket.
All right, so Eagle does put in. Chris Dickerson will lose the hole. A little putting practice, which is completely allowable in match play, and they're going to move on. Get a refresher of the scores and where the matches are at. Eagle McMahon is 1 up over Chris Dickerson, and Calvin Heimberg also 1 up through 6. Tight battles here. And that actually, is going to adjust once our scorekeepers have caught up with us. So to clarify, Eagle now 2 up over Dickerson. Pierce for her birdie look. Count it.
She connects.
And Sarah Holcomb had already laid up next to the basket. Sarah has an incoming shot coming from Pierce. So Pierce will win the hole. Here's Missy Gannon. And so Missy Gannon will also win the hole after we saw Haley miss on her birdie opportunity.
Too excited.
Missy finding that putting stroke early. She wasn't able to quite find it early in the round yesterday, so it's good to see her connecting on those longer ones. And Paige Pierce also making a good correction after missing her putt on hole 4 yesterday. She got some extra reps in and feeling comfortable with those elevated baskets.
And those scores are current. We've got Paige Pierce 2 up through 4, and Haley and Missy all square. Heimberg on the tee of 8.
Hole 8 is a 720-foot par 4. Got out of bounds left, running along the tree line. The players have to contend with, so the miss is going to be on the right side. All week, the players have been making the distance look easy, particularly on hole 8.
Conrad asking for it to hold. It's leaking out to the left side. And you were just mentioning, Dana, if anyone's going to miss, they need to miss to the right because of the OB found over there.
Not quite the maximum distance flight that we saw a hole ago from Eagle, but missing on the good side, turning it over a little bit too much. Still in really good position for a birdie.
Just a little bit overturned for Chris.
Let's head back to the FPO division here. They're on the tee of 5. Here's Paige Pierce. Paige squaring up with the tree and getting the worst possible kick as a result. And certainly an advantage and an opportunity here for Sarah Holcomb if she can get this out clean.
Although there's not many gaps to hit out here, when you're out there throwing bombers with wide open shots, wide open fairways, even a 40-foot gap seems so narrow to hit.
Wow, and Holcomb not able to take advantage. And she also clips the tree. Not sure if that kick was as bad, but nonetheless.
Not taking advantage.
That was a prime time for Sarah with her down 2 to Paige. It's not over yet on this hole, but it's going to be a scrambled challenge, we'll say.
Missy able to hit the gap?
Literally wavering between which disc he wants to throw. Hit the gap, but it appeared to be a little low as well. And both Holcomb and Pierce will head off to find their second shots. But here's Chris Dickerson.
Even with the less than ideal drive, Chris able to put it well up near the basket.
And UDisc is indicating that James Conrad out of bounds on this left-hand side. Conrad's inbounds, but certainly a huge opportunity for Calvin Heimberg to win the hole. And Eagle will have that short putt for his 3. Him and Dickerson both in range. And as they're moving up the fairway, I want to ask Nate, has there been any conversation about how this course sets up? We're seeing that our long throwers are out in front here. We've got Eagle McMahon in the finals. In the final 4, we've got Calvin Heimberg. Is the long throwers, is this the throwers course that they're looking for?
Yeah, players were definitely talking before leading up to the event that the longer throwers on tour were definitely going to have an advantage, and it's showing. And honestly, this is one of the coolest events I've ever spectated because of all the 600-foot shots we're seeing this weekend.
Well, you know, people like Eagle McMahon, Calvin Heimberg, James Conrad feasting on the ideas of being able to use their distance to their advantage. And here's Paige Pierce just trying to get it back out into the fairway, and it looks successful. And all of the men agreed to just pick up, and they are moving on.
Eagle and Calvin both in cruise control here. James and Chris running out of holes to make something happen.
So Paige was able to put herself back into position. It doesn't seem like it was necessarily much farther than where her intended tee shot would have landed. Sarah's just going to try to make up as much distance as she can, get herself back out into the fairway for position to attack the green. Nice out by Hokum.
Here we are on the tee of 9, Eagle McMahon. Looking at the downhill shot. Believes this one comes in at 455 feet.
That's 555, Terry.
Oh, man, I better club up next time when I'm out there then. You know, at least to a mid.
The basket sits just beyond the golf green. The grass is very thick by the basket.
Oh!
Unfortunately, Eagle catches the short stuff where we've seen players landing in that thick grass and sitting. Eagle skips beyond and down the hill.
And of all places to miss, that's not exactly punishing. The one thing you can't do is come up short and finish on the green, of course, because that is out of bounds.
Need some good action.
Oh, and that's skipping across, and that's going to get the green flag. Nice shot by Chris Dickerson. Closer than Eagle McMahon. And if we notice on this tee, the players actually have a little bit of liberty as to where they want to tee from. This is a widened tee pad. Some are playing from the cart path, or they could use the natural green grass. Anywhere up in that area is where they can choose to tee from. A very rare tree hit that we find here on hole number 9.
Yeah, Calvin was trying to swing it out to the right and have it finish to the left towards the basket. Hanging it out just a bit too much. Opportunity for James Conrad.
Not quite enough turn on that one.
Left-hand side, clear of the green. He gets the green flag. We're going to take another look at Eagle McMahon. He notices that it's tracking. He's put a good move on it.
That's where the heart rate starts to pick up.
And that's what happens when you flash next to the basket. Eagle McMahon will be deep on 9. And he's going to have some pressure on him. Certainly James Conrad, or should I say Chris Dickerson, in good position for the birdie. Here's Haley King.
Haley's trying to work herself up to the green. Leaves herself just a little short.
Holcomb's third, putting straight uphill. That will be for her par. Here's Paige's third shot. Again, positioning crucial. They can see who has to putt first, depending on where Paige lands. And Paige will be a greater distance from the pin, so she'll act first between the two of them. That could completely dictate what Sarah Holcomb does. If Paige tries to put it up next to the basket, somehow it catches edge and maybe rolls away. At that point, Holcomb may change up her game plan. We heard the common phrase out here out of most of our players has been situational. So many of them have a kind of a generic game plan going into this course and into the rounds and what they're going to do, but every one of them has said, yeah, I have a game plan, but it'll be situational. Something can change on any given shot or hole by what my opponent is doing, and then I'm going to react to that. And that's not something that we normally see in a regular stroke play tournament. Conrad with the opportunity to win the hole.
Have to think James is going to be ultra aggressive with this putt right here.
Immediately doesn't like it. Just sails it past.
And holes are running out for James Conrad. Calvin, huge advantage. Now we're back with Missy Gannon. That is her third shot.
Haley was out of position, and that was an opportunity for Missy, and she just doesn't get the angle right on her forehand.
Lofty putt by McMahon is short. Certainly opening the door now for Chris Dickerson.
So Paige Pierce trying to give that a run. She didn't put herself in great position for that. She was pinched pinched off on the right-hand side and doesn't capitalize on the opportunity.
Wow, and a solid putt for James Conrad. And Calvin still has work to do himself.
And honestly, this has been a little bit of a theme for Calvin when we've seen him leaving himself extra work on the green with his putter up shots. But one of the best in the world on the green, not a problem for Calvin.
And just barely sneaking it in. Chris Dickerson will win the hole. And that means that Eagle McMahon will just be up 1 with 3 to play. Calvin and James. That one's a little bit tighter in the sense that James is going to need to get something going right away. Otherwise, he's looking at elimination. I'm going to jump back to Haley King.
And Haley just trying to get that towards the basket and not able to do so. And it looks like Haley's still going to be out.
Yeah, a few moments ago. Again, you talk about a roller coaster of emotions. I think about what we just saw from James Conrad and Calvin a few moments ago. James had the opportunity to win the hole outright. Next thing you know, he's in for his par. Calvin then has to make a good par putt just to come back and halve the hole. And now, in this situation, Missy thinking, wow, she's out of position. There's a good chance she could lose the hole. And then we have Haley come back and doesn't have a clean approach herself. So just constant roller coaster of emotions here and how things can change up on every single hole. And then it ultimately just resets on the next hole.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so much going on. Anything can happen at any given time.
Something we'll have to watch for. I feel like in the first 2 rounds, we saw so many players really able to attack on hole 3, and then today it seemed like they struggled more so. Normally our players get more dialed in as a weekend goes on, but here's Kelvin Heimberg on the tee at 10.
Hole 10 playing 510 feet with OB all along the left-hand side. The basket is pinched up in a little corner with OB surrounded. We've seen a lot of these guys really pinching that left-hand side, trying to be, throw it really tight to get it as close as they can to the basket, and a lot of times finding OB.
Yeah, and that's the risk of the tee shot here. If you want to put yourself up near circle 1, you're likely going to have to challenge those trees that are hanging along the out of bounds on the left.
We're also getting word from Nate Perkins that there's a decent headwind here on hole 10, so something else that they have to account for.
And there it is.
Yeah, that flipping over James' disc more than he was hoping for. We're going to jump back. It's Gannon to win the hole. All right, so she might be getting away with one here, even if she can just halve it.
Nice pronunciation there, Terry.
All weekend long. We'll get there, Dana. Believe it or not, folks, that's not an easy word to say. Here's Chris Dickerson. Now we Come back to Sarah Holcomb trying to win the hole. Oh, and it looks good. It needs to sit down. Again, the roller coasters of emotion.
Yeah, Sarah runs that to win the hole and unfortunately catches the roll away. And so now, with the potential where they could have had the hole, now Sarah has to make a putt.
I was thinking the same as we momentarily see a little spurt up of one of the sprinklers.
I jumped here in the booth, Terry.
Slight grunt by Eagle McMahon.
I think that disc had a little too much turn on it for his liking.
Now we've come back to Paige Pierce.
Feels like we've been on hole 5 for a little bit here.
All that rough, providing plenty of challenge. Few errant tee shots, few tough approaches.
So now Paige was able to make that putt. Sarah, we saw her roll away just a moment ago. And so Sarah's going to have to make that putt to have the hole.
Solid putt by Haley. She will pick up Missy's putter.
We've seen a number of players from where Sarah putted her last putt, unable to connect. Sarah, oh so close, but pays the price with a little bit of a roll away.
Making sure she's taking her time. The uphill footing can be a little tricky sometimes with that weight shift when you're trying to get some power on that putt. And she connects. So no holes awarded on hole 5. Everyone just squeaking by.
Routine approach shot by Dickerson.
Look for a little half go from James Conrad here.
Good call, Dana. He is running out of holes. He is 2 down with these 3 holes left to play potentially. And if he doesn't get something going, he's going to be eliminated.
Eagle kind of looking up in the air. Maybe he was running that and the wind had pushed it down.
Yeah, they had a headwind on the hole, so those putts for Calvin and Eagle would have been right to left.
Mm-hmm.
And just to put it into perspective, had Calvin made that, he would have ended the match because he would have been up 3 with just 2 to play.
Now, this is unfamiliar territory for Chris Dickerson. Both of his early matches, he was up 2 with 2 to play. Here against Eagle, Down 1 with 2 to play. Far from over.
And now, as we're talking and looking at, we've been working through all of the definitions and all the explanations, as match play is so different from stroke play. Kelvin is what we would refer to as dormy. He is up 2 with 2 holes to play. If he were to push the next hole, he would in fact win the match. Even if he were to lose the next hole, but then go on and push the final hole, or tie the final hole, I should say, he would still win the match. So Kelvin is dormy.
So hole 6, Missy just teed off the 390-foot par 3 OB all along the left side, and OB also past the basket. The basket sits on a mound, so it's not easy to set it up on the mound, as the discs can flare, and we've seen a lot of players go OB. Haley's swinging it nice and wide, asking for it to sit down. And she finds that red flag. And Chris says, "That's terrible." Fortunately gets the green flag. That tree wall that they're trying to throw over is out of bounds. You can see the stakes at the bottom of the tree line. Unfortunately, Chris stays in bounds.
Eagle weighing out his options. You can go extreme to the right to try to get it safe over those trees. Chris, gotta say that was a really good break. It's a pretty bad throw. Still alive as he's in bounds, and pressure on Eagle to throw a good one here.
So Eagle looking to get that distance.
That was a really good shot by Eagle. There is a gap where his disc did fly through. That is the preferred route. Calvin's got to be careful here. Maybe throw it a little flatter than he has in the days past.
And at this point, just to remind everyone, Calvin just needs to match whatever James does on this hole. He can match it or do better. The only thing he doesn't want to do is worse. And if so, he'll end the match with a book of matches. He wants to light a fire. I don't know what I'm talking about. We'll move on. Conrad will like that. Here we are back on the tee of 6, Paige Pierce.
Paige also swinging extra wide. That's going to need to sit down, and it does. That'll give her a long look at the basket. And Sarah with her second backhand of the day. She's just going to really want to commit to that right side and let gravity do the work and pull the disc down towards the left. And she does that just fine.
We've been bringing you action for the last few days exclusively on the Disc Golf Network, and we invite you to join us as we're continuing on through the last portion of the season. It feels like it's been a long one, and we're so glad that you guys are tuning in and participating along with us. You can go out and join discgolfnetwork.com. Of course, if you're a PDGA member, you get a discount on your subscription. Got plenty of action coming up over the next few weeks. And I think we've already got some additional coverage and action coming to you guys during the off season as well. We never take a break here on the Disc Golf Network.
Level of difficulty very high on this shot.
Not according to Chris Dickerson. We're heading back to Sarah Hokum with her second shot on 6.
So Sarah seems to be at the edge of circle 2. Just lands it on the top of the mound there. It is riddled with OB. She goes past it or to the left.
Decision time for her opponent, Paige Pierce, there.
Paige were to connect with the birdie, she would win the hole. But now we're back with Heimberg.
And we see what a clean drive off the tee gets you. A pretty elementary upshot.
Yeah, there's not a lot going on. You see the OB hazard behind the basket or the sand bunker, but.
And this is Pierce to win the hole. We saw Sarah Hokum lay up. She's right next to the basket. Oh, and Paige doesn't connect. It does stay in bounds.
So it'll likely.
I think we're going to see a tie on that hole if Paige comes and makes the comeback putt. So essentially, this may need to be the holy shot version 2 for James Conrad if he wants to extend this match or keep it rolling into the 12th hole. Heimberg in a very makeable position looking at the birdie. James needs to beat him here on the 11th hole. And if that heads towards the out of bounds, which it is, that should be game, set, match. Calvin Heimberg gets the high five from James. James recognizes that's it. And Calvin Heimberg will be moving into the finals here at the Disc Golf Pro Tour Match Play Championships. And this is Haley King from the OB. So that means Haley is in for the 3, and Missy will have an opportunity to win the hole. We'll come back to that in a moment. But first, we've got Eagle McMahon. Eagle with a standstill.
Yeah, I think standstill mid-range for Eagle just goes to show how great his tee shot was.
So Haley has tapped in for her 3. Missy Gannon has a birdie look. And she can win the hole if she converts.
Yeah, and that's a risk that Missy just wasn't wanting to play with. There is OB past the basket, and if she gave it a run and happened to miss, she could catch edge on the metal and roll out of bounds. She could sail it out of bounds, and at that point, she would have just handed the hole to Haley.
Yeah, and they're in an all-square match, which means they are tied. Missy liking her chances on hole 7 and beyond.
Wow, again, such interesting strategies and gamesmanship going on out here, and that's a perfect depiction of that.
Chris with a great shot to get him up here into circle one after the misfire tee shot.
And Chris is going to need this. He comes through.
He's been making those look so easy all weekend. Of course, last weekend, if you're with us from the Green Mountain Championships.
Well, and that's a great putt for Chris because in the past couple matches on rounds or day 1 and 2, on hole 11 and 12, that's where his putting started to get shaky.
We're going to rejoin the FPO field.
And hole 7's the same tee pad, same basket as the MPO. So you're just going to see a lot of long drives here off the tee, 765 feet.
I know it seems obvious, but distance, a huge advantage on this hole. If you can approach the green with something a little bit slower than a high-speed driver, you're going to have a big advantage.
Yeah, this hole has a slight uphill to the basket, and if they're able to get a lot of distance off of the tee pad, we saw Haley King approach past the basket yesterday on her second shot. So they are able to reach it, but they have to throw almost perfect shots.
We're back with Chris Dickerson on the tee of 12. He's going to need to win this hole.
Inbounds, good, but not a great drive from Chris. And is this the first time we've seen Eagle have to play hole 12?
Yeah, he has eliminated his opponents earlier in the first 2 rounds. Today, Chris is going to push him all the way to the 12th hole. Chris hoping to extend it past that, but it's going to take something just short of a miracle at this point.
Or a mistake from Eagle.
Well, that is the disc that gets a lot of turn. He swung that out wide and it ended up flipping up just a little bit. Still in good position. Missy with great angle control up against that side slope, gets a full turn.
This is pushing hard left. And although she might have a little more distance covered there, she's also going to have a slightly steeper uphill climb to the basket. So there is a disadvantage to falling way off to that left-hand side.
Yeah, she'll be throwing directly at and over the hazard bunker. Got to be careful not to go too far past as the golf green is right there.
Big shout out to all of the camera crews, not just this weekend, but every weekend, tirelessly bringing you guys the action, both in live and post-production. Thank you to all of our post-production partners, as well as the guys hustling around. Our live camera crew, for those of you that don't know, not only are working these very long days with the coverage and the filming, they usually are setting up and taking down the courses week in and week out with all of the course assets.
You guys push a little behind the basket. Heads up, coming in hot.
And Chris giving the forewarning to the gallery. He knows he has to make this shot in order to continue the match. So he's going to be giving this a full send on our 12th hole.
We've seen him earlier in the round throw in from 101 feet. This is much further than that.
Could this be the shot?
Oh,
It is not. So with that, Eagle McMahon is going to move into the finals here at the Match Play Championships. Wow, what an exciting battle between the two of them.
I always love watching players try to throw things in. You don't often see that in stroke play, so it's definitely been entertaining.
Yeah, just going through the motions, the formalities here. And coming into hole 12, Eagle had won 3 holes. Chris Dickerson had won 2. And Eagle McMahon will be moving on. Chris officially conceding as Eagle picks up. Little fist bump with Calvin, who will also be moving on. Well, we see who will be playing in the finals. Calvin Heimberg along with Eagle McMahon. Very exciting action here during our Final Four.
Now our final 4 players that aren't moving on to the championship are going to be collecting a cool $3,000 payout for their performance this weekend. And of course, the championship match worth $10,000 for the first place winner. Runner-up, $6,000.
So what could be as few as 7 holes played could turn into a $10,000 payday during this championship round. But first, we're back on the FPO side. They're trying to figure out who will be moving into the finals. We've got a couple of great battles going on here. Haley's third puts her right next to the pin. Looks like Cynthia Ricciardi again on the bag for Haley King, but now we've got Sarah Holcomb.
Paige is putting for birdie for circle 1.
And this is for Paige Pierce to win the hole.
Asks for it to stay up, and it does. Great putt by Paige. And that'll be 3 up for Paige over Sarah Holcomb.
And with this, Paige Pierce in a commanding lead, as you just said, Christine. She goes to 3 up as she wins the hole. Just barely skips in there for her. The low clap. Paige trying to close things out early against her opponent in Sarah Holcomb. 3 up through 7. And Haley King and Missy Gannon remain all square through 7. Looks like we are greenside with our finalists. That's Eagle McMahon and Calvin Heimberg. Let's hear what they have to say as they're going to be moving into the championship round later this afternoon.
All right, we're here with our winners, Eagle McMahon and Calvin Heimberg. Calvin, you had your toughest match of the week so far. Can you talk to us about your opponent, James Conrad, and what it means to come out on top?
Yeah, James is a great competitor. He's one of the best putters out here, so he's always got a chance to throw it in, so I knew I was going to throw really well today.
And Eagle, this is the first time that we've seen you have to play both hole 11 and 12. Can you talk to us about your opponent, Chris Dickerson?
Yeah, it's kind of like James. You can really never count him out. I mean, playing against James for Calvin and Chris for me, you're not safe from anywhere because they're on the money when it comes to throw-ins. Thought I was getting a point on him on hole 2, and he saves the match and keeps it interesting, and he did that throughout the round.
All right, Eagle, so a 700-foot park job yesterday and a 680-foot air shot today on hole 7. Can you give us a little secret to that distance?
Check out the new Discmania plastic.
Calvin, a little bit more wind out there today. Can you talk to us about how you stay so calm with a headwind putt on hole 3?
You know, we've been here a million times, so it's just kind of going through the motions, just telling yourself you can do it. I mean, if you don't think you can make the putt, you should probably be laying up. So, yeah, it's just I've been here and done it a bunch of times. Just, why can't I do it again?
Well, I think we're all looking forward to your match this afternoon. Congratulations on the victory, and best of luck to both of you.
Thank you.
And, of course, thank you so much to Nate Perkins for catching up with our finalists, Eagle McMahon and Calvin Heimberg. Great battles, certainly aware of how fierce their competitors are and what their skill sets are. There's something to be said when you move into match play about knowing your opponent's strengths and weaknesses. And I know we kind of talked about that. Paige Pierce mentioned that. Sarah Holcomb mentioned that. Those two have been playing against each other for more than a decade, so they have plenty of knowledge and background as to what their opponents are capable of. But now we're going to rejoin our FPO division. They're here on the tee of 8. This is Missy Gannon, who is currently all square with Haley King.
Hole 8 is 375 feet. There's OB all along the left-hand side, and there is an OB green behind the basket. This hole plays slightly uphill. We have seen a couple of our players reach the basket. Haley King being one of them. Haley King in edge of circle 1. Paige Pierce definitely one that could put herself next to the basket.
And you called it, Christine. In fact, just a bit deep of the pin. Very makeable birdie putt for Paige Pierce.
So Sarah Holcomb having to throw a 375-foot uphill sidearm.
And she would love to get 340 or 350 just to give herself a look. But we're going to be back with you after a word from these sponsors. Stay tuned, the Disc Golf Network.
Daily fantasy sports made easy. Simply pick the over-under on 2 or more players, and that's it. You can win up to 10 times your money in just one day. Download the PrizePicks app today and get your first deposit match up to $100.
Me and my brother and my dad, We're out there for hours just playing disc golf, having fun.
That's like one of the first things we usually say. It's a great family sport.
We got to do it as a family.
And it builds relationship. Like, I know my dad's so much better because of disc golf.
It's nice that that's something that we can connect and go do together.
My parents are 100% behind it. Bad rounds, good rounds, doesn't matter. They always have a smile on their face.
We don't call it sacrifice. We call it fun.
Get out there and have fun. At the end of the day, most important is have fun.
And we're back with the FPO side here at hole 8, Disc Golf Pro Tour Match Play Championships. Got Paige Pierce 3 up over Sarah Holcomb. Our other match, Haley King versus Missy Gannon, is all square. Holcomb taking the long walk back after assessing where Paige is at. Sarah well knows that she's running out of holes here. See if she can make something happen.
And not quite the aggressive bid that Holcomb really needed to put there.
Yesterday in the Elite 8, the only person able to score, take advantage on hole 8 was Missy Gannon. She finds herself well short here in the Final Four today. Look at the wind picking up there behind Paige Pierce.
Yeah, certainly, and with just the force in which she can throw with, she seems to have an advantage more often than not. Oh, and Haley doesn't take advantage of the opportunity to win the hole. I think we're going to see the two of them helve the hole.
Yeah, it's hard to tell if that was some wind that may have knocked that putt down, or maybe Haley was being a little timid. There is OB if she would have airballed that.
And Sarah knows that things got that much more difficult. Now Paige will be up 4 with 4 to play, otherwise known as Dormy. It seems like they're still having a good time, as tight as the battle is. So King and Gannon will remain all square through 8. And Paige Pierce has Sarah Holcomb up against a wall. And things are looking quite grim for Holcomb. She would need to win out the next 4 holes, and that would be just to continue the match.
Yeah, I was very excited, as I told you earlier today, to see Haley and Missy battle it out. I knew it was going to be close, and here we are, 8 holes through, and we're all square.
Paige throwing throwing the disc pretty good today, not making mistakes, finding out of bounds as she's known to do. Very aggressive player, and sometimes carding a ton more birdies than everybody else, but also a ton more out of bounds strokes.
Well, and over on our bracket found on challenge.com, we see that 72% of our participants thought we would see the Paige and Holcomb matchup. 90% of those picked Paige Pierce to carry forward. And then when we're looking at the Haley King, Missy Gannon, again, 32% thought we would see this matchup, and 73% said when that happens, Haley would come out on top. And obviously, that lower matchup had a little tougher path as they had to get past Katrina Allen. Katrina Allen very much in that conversation. I'm sure she was picked quite often within the brackets as well, but she was eliminated yesterday. Here's Pierce.
Paige drifting significantly left. This whole play slightly left to right. It is downhill, and that green in front of the basket is out of bounds. You're just going to see a lot of these players bail out and play a safer shot.
Holcomb watches that come up short of the green. Holcomb facing elimination here on the green of 9 if something magical doesn't happen.
Missy just throwing something stable, letting the disc do its work and fade left. Not necessarily playing around with putting any turn on that disc to get towards that green that's out of bounds. Haley yesterday making the mistake of pulling too far right and finding herself OB in the tree line. And now today she tickles the tree line and fortunately gets through, but then again finds that OB green. And that's an advantage for Missy. Missy could just lay up and play it safe. Haley's going to have to take it back just a little bit, maybe about 30 feet, because the disc flew into the green and then skipped up a little bit. It does play OB. It is not a hazard, so she's going to have to take it back to where it was last in bounds.
Beautiful Sunday afternoon out in Pennsylvania. Some people asking about not only why is it a 12-hole match, but overall the scheduling. And you have to take into consideration that the match is scheduled for 12 holes. That can certainly extend. It also can be shortened. You really don't have an official timetable in which you know things will end. And so that all has to be accounted for as you move throughout this entire weekend. We saw a few of our matches, especially back on day 1, extend past the 12 holes. And today, right now, for instance, we may see Sarah Holcomb eliminated here on the 9th. This is a live look at our competitors moving down the fairway. So I'll ask the question to either of you right now as we're just short of the finals. Should we see more match play? Should we get more match play incorporated into our overall season? Is that something you'd like to see more of, Dana?
Yeah, I'd love to see maybe an additional match play event, but maybe seeing this event mid-season might be a little bit more interesting and an expanded field. It's a ton of fun.
Holcomb says that, we heard Holcomb say that's not close enough. And Sarah certainly facing the potential elimination here. All Paige has to do is tie her on this hole.
Oh, we have a big moment for Missy. She just needs to put this as close as she can to the basket.
Advantage Gannon. And Paige also declaring that her attempt was short.
So Haley takes her lie. The disc didn't go be as far back as I thought it did.
Missy is basically right next to the basket already, so not quite the attempt that we would expect to see from Haley, not getting it all the way there. Or at least she's putting a little bit of pressure back on Missy that Missy will have to convert for the three. If Paige Pierce makes this, she wins the match. And there you have it. Paige Pierce will be moving into the finals here at the Disc Golf Pro Tour Match Play Championships. She's eliminated Sarah Holcomb.
She just goes ahead and picks up Missy's disc for her, so Missy will just go on and win that hole.
And Jeff Spring making sure that Paige is ready to go. I bet you will see Paige continue on as a spectator. She sees her good friends and teammates in Haley King and Missy Gannon. They're still going to continue to battle. So I bet you will see Paige taking in the action over the next few holes as well. But she knows she is in the finals. Congratulations to her. This is a live look from the overhead drone shot. Paige Pierce was able to win 4 holes. I believe the official scoring will be 4 and 3 for her. And while we're waiting for them to move over to the next tee, we invite you to head over to dgpt.com/shop. See if there's some Discmania Mutants. This is a special edition exclusively available on the Disc Golf Pro Tour shop. Dana, we know that you guys collaborated, Discmania being the title sponsor of this event. Are there any available yet? How can we get them?
Yeah, head over to the Disc Golf Pro Tour shop, dgpt.com/shop. They are bottom stamped.
And Paige Pierce, we're taking another look. Her putting seemed to be on point all day, and that wins her the match. Your 5-time world champion will be in the finals. Now we're on to 10. Missy Gannon is 1 up over Haley King.
Hole 10, playing as a par 4. Got the out of bounds on the left that you really just want to avoid. Missy doing that nicely. She'll have a clean look directly at the basket, but she'll have out of bounds right behind that she has to keep in mind.
Haley going high.
Boom.
Putting a good move on that disc, getting lots of distance.
And we'll have to see what they can do with their approach shots after a word from these sponsors. Stay tuned. You're watching Match Play Championships on the Disc Golf Network. Welcome back. We have Missy Gannon first to throw.
So Missy with the one-up advantage over Haley King. Just looking to get this as close to the basket.
Oh, you see the wind really affecting the flight. Well, let's talk to Nate Perkins about that. Nate, I know you're out in the fairway. What is the wind doing?
Same wind as earlier, Terry. They have a relevant headwind, and Missy was slight right to left on that, and she just straightened it out a little too much.
And I believe we heard 170 coming from Haley King, saying that's her distance left to the pin.
Oh, and she just saws that off. That was an opportunity for Haley to put some pressure on Missy, because Missy left herself a little short, and now Haley's done the same.
You have to wonder if she was worried or just was thinking about, maybe in the back of her mind, the OB on that far left side, and next thing you know, she a little too much angle or nose up on that. Like you said, sawed it off and short left. I feel like a 170-foot standstill shot forehand for Haley King. That's bread and butter for her all day.
Yeah, we've seen her go to that multiple times this weekend and be successful. She's still on the putting green, so if she can put it in, it won't matter.
First up is Missy Gannon.
Missy unable to put the disc in the basket. Now, opportunity for Haley. She looks like she's just on the edge of circle one. and does not take advantage. That putt would have squared it all up, but instead she just picks it up, and Missy still has one up on Haley.
Haley King on the season, 73% from Circle 1X.
When Haley's putting is on, it's on. And the same goes for Missy. Missy's more of a Circle 2 is situational for her. You know, Circle 1 for Missy, it's always on. Circle 2, if she's on, she's feeling it. Haley's very hit or miss. It depends on how she's feeling that day for Circle 1 and Circle 2 putts.
Well, she was feeling it last weekend at the Green Mountain Championships. Her third round, one of the greatest.
Shot a 10.58 rated round in round 3 at Fox Run, shooting 9 under par. Unbelievable round.
Just an impressive performance all around. And they're moving over to the next hole. Things are continuing to dwindle. Holes are dwindling here for Haley King. Such a missed opportunity with that last putt.
In hole 11, this is the same tee pad as the MPO players. However, FPO does have a slightly shorter basket. The wall of trees is out of bounds. And the play we typically see from the FPO field is to just lay up on this side of the fairway and then cross over on their second shot.
And if Missy were to win this hole, she would win the match and move on.
Missy in nice position.
Haley doesn't like it. That's leaking out to the left.
That's a little pinched off. She's going to have a really tough angle from there.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and ask Nate Perkins, who's out in the field. Nate, does that take Haley completely out of position? What is she going to have to do on her second shot?
It makes the angle a little tougher, but she definitely still has the chance to get it close. She has 330 to the pin, and she might have to hit it with a little bit more hyzer than Missy.
All right, so still with a chance, as Nate is telling us. And Christine, you said same tee, same pin, par 4, but different routes here as they're trying to play hole 11.
Yeah, this is right where the OB is, where the ad walls are, just where the long grass is. They're just going to want to throw over that. FPO does have a slightly shorter basket. It's a little short and right, so it makes their approach a little bit easier as they're laying up to the mouth or the gap, and then they're going to have to come in with a hyzer. Haley being a little bit farther away, she might have to throw a steeper hyzer, get it up in the air a little higher so that the disc can travel more left. With her tee shot leaking a little left, it definitely calls for a longer distance shot for the approach. It's not as easy to throw that far with that much hyzer.
Yeah, and I think what she's going to need to do is not reach for her most overstable disc, which a lot of players might instinctively do, is more throw a neutral or a straighter flying disc on a hyzer angle.
To get, you're going to want to
get that
not necessarily
carry.
a hyzer flip, you know, it might not get that flip, but just to get that extra glide and extra distance. And she throws that on a super steep hyzer. I think she catches some branches. She's in bounds, but it's not the shot that she was looking for. She's really wanting to put it up by the basket. And if Missy can win this hole, that's game over for Haley.
And also making a great point that whenever you are to place your mini down or your mark your lie, you are marking it relative to the basket. Or if there's a mando on the hole, you would mark it relative to the mando. But sometimes when you have a fairway that bends in a goofy position, the mini may not be marked at 12 o'clock to where you're initially walking up to it.
May push 2 straight. Nope.
I think she wanted it to go a little bit farther left, but she's definitely in the circle and will have a closer look than Haley has.
And she has a great chance to close out the match and move into the finals. We're going to take another look at it from the catch cam. Getting that much closer, and we were taking a look at the projected numbers over there at Prize Picks. They had picked that Paige Pierce would win 3.5 holes. Paige went on to win 4, and they also had Haley King winning and had her picked at 3.5 holes won. And Haley right now, well, is looking like she's just going to have the 1 hole won, which does sound odd to say, but she did win 1 hole. But right now she's facing elimination.
So Haley's going to try to put this in.
And I think we are seeing the final shots from this match.
Missy's got about 22 to go to find herself in the championship match later this afternoon against Paige Pierce.
See if Missy can end it here.
There you have it, your finalist. Missy Gannon moves in to square up against Paige Pierce. And it sounds like there's some confusion. Again, I was just talking about how people have played this. Some people with a little more veterans to the game are familiar with the format. Haley talking about how she could potentially ace hole 12. She doesn't get to play hole 12, not at least in competition. The match is over. We see Missy Gannon has gone up 2 with 1 hole left to play. Therefore, the match is over. Great battle, but that's the end of the road for Haley King.
Yeah, it was really close here through hole 8. We were all square, and it was back and forth, and Missy finally just closing it out.
Certainly impressive. Of course, we're going to see Missy and Paige go up against one another. I think we're going to hear from them in just a few moments. But Dana, 2 friends, $10,000 for first place, $6,000 for the runner-up. We're talking about some high-pressure stakes here in the sport of disc golf.
Disc golf rich right there, Terry. But looking to the championship match, Paige has been very clean this weekend. She's been keeping it in bounds, and I think if she continues that trend, it's going to be really difficult for Missy to pick up the win against Paige.
Well, Paige is going to be going up against her good friend, Missy Gannon. They are greenside. We're going to hear from them now before they square off.
All right, and we're here with Missy Gannon and Paige Pierce. Guys, congratulations on the victory today. Missy, you had a tough matchup. Can you talk about your opponent, Haley King, and what it means to come out on top?
Yeah, I just feel like she got one up on me early. It's similar to yesterday, same hole, everything. And then I got it back on 4. Again, same exact progression as yesterday. And then we just sort of kept making similar mistakes or, you know, the same kind of progression up the fairways. So I kind of let one up on her on 6. I wanted to run that putt, but she was OB, and so that was a push that maybe I wish I had gotten a point on, but glad that it ended up working out in the end.
And Paige, you birdied 5 of the 9 holes that you played today. Can you talk about how you're feeling out here at the Steel Club?
Yeah, it's a good course for me. It suits my strengths, and I think the nose angle is very, very important out here with the elevation and the wind. Being from Texas, so I'm pretty used to it. Yeah, I knew that I was gonna have the advantage. It was just a matter of keeping it in bounds, and today I felt really confident off the tee.
And we know that you guys are good friends off the course. Can you talk to us a little bit about what it's going to be like playing one of your best friends for $10,000?
Yeah, honestly, this is a dream come true. I mean, me and Missy are very competitive with each other. I'm glad we're not playing cornhole this afternoon. And yeah, if we were supposed to talk trash in the press conference, and I would never talk trash to anybody except for Missy. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun out there, and I think it's going to be very exciting.
And Missy, can you talk to us a little bit about what you're going to have to do to best one of the best players in the world?
Well, she didn't go be a lot the first round, so I'm hoping she will the second round. No, but I mean, I just have to play my game, and I might have to get aggressive, like maybe not lay up on a circle 2 putt on a mound. So we're just going to see what happens, and it's going to be fun either way.
Well, congratulations to you both for making it to the finals. We're all looking forward to your match. Let's go have lunch, and we'll see you for the afternoon round.
And we see the friends embrace. Of course, we're excited for what's to come. We're going to stand down for just a moment, but when we come back, we're going to preview the championship round that's going to take place this afternoon. We'll be back in a moment. And welcome back, everyone. What a great morning. We now have dwindled down to just 4 competitors. They're going to be squaring off this afternoon, all on the same card. We're not going to have to cut from one to another, all right here in front of us. If my math is right, that's $32,000 to be awarded this afternoon. Dana, you call it disc golf rich. We're moving up in the world.
Yeah, that's right, Terry. That's right. And we're in for an exciting one. Eagle McMahon versus Calvin Heimberg on the MPO side. Eagle has been dominant all weekend. 2 of his matches didn't even go to the 12th hole. He's never been down. So it's going to be interesting to see if coming out of the gates on hole 1, if maybe Calvin can sneak a point and get ahead of Eagle, as no one else has been able to do so yet this weekend.
Well, and Christine, speak of the contrast that we're going to see in the 2 matches, because I think of the 2 men being relatively quiet and reserved. And then we just heard from Paige and Missy, they're a little, we'll say a little more chatty, and they're very good friends. What do you think we're going to see with those 2 matchups?
Yeah, I think they're definitely going to be having more fun out of the 4 players that are going to be out there. We saw a lot of trash talking on the press conference, but then once we got on the course, a lot of that actually dwindled down, and they were being very serious and very reserved. And so now you see 2 best friends matched up against each other, and now that spark and that fun has kind of came back up. So it'll be exciting to see if that continues on the course in the last match.
Well, we talk about strategies that are played throughout, and Missy alluded to that earlier. She said, you likely won't see me laying up a putt from circle 2. Of course, everything is situational here, but right now it's all or nothing. When you're talking about $10,000 for first, $6,000 for second, are there any nerves that they haven't felt before when they're out there, Dana? I mean, they've played for high stakes before.
Yeah, they're no strangers to the high stakes, but I feel like this is going to be a little stress-free. I mean, it's a big payday. It's not a huge difference. I mean, $4,000, yes, a lot of money, but it's not something where it's 10,000 to 1,000 where it's really going to hurt. So we might see the players a little bit looser now that they are in the championships.
Well, we've got the best of the best that are squaring up. We've seen a few of these matches, like I said, go into extra holes. We've seen a few of them ended early. Christine, what are you predicting? What do you think we're going to see? Will Paige and Missy be able to take it the distance, or do you think somebody might be able to close it out earlier?
It really depends on, I think, how Missy's putting is going. You know, we've seen both Missy and Paige had a lot of big putts out there. But like I said earlier, Missy's very dependent on how she's just feeling. I think historically Paige is always on, and Missy maybe not so much. It depends on, how the day's going for her. And so not to say that she won't be running the circle 2 putts, but it's just, is she feeling it, and is she going to be able to connect?
Same question for you, Dana. On the MPO side, I feel like we could be in for a 27-hole battle between the 2 of them. I mean, anything is possible. Or do you think somebody's got some momentum and they might close it out earlier?
I think we're going to find out after the first 3 holes, Terry. Those first 3, so key. Hole 1, we've seen holes given up left and right. Hole 2 as well. So maybe Eagle can pull out, shoot some fireworks off for us again on hole 3. So,
well, we're going to take a look at the early favorites. Well, it's Eagle McMahon and Paige Pierce, I should say, are your early favorites. That's what we're hearing from Prize Picks. I was just coming into my ear as I was trying to share that with you guys. Eagle McMahon and Paige Pierce, your early predicted favorites. Does that surprise either of you?
No, not at all.
Can't say it does. Like I said, Eagle's been cruising. Why won't he continue?
Wow. We're going to continue all of the action this afternoon where, of course, we're going to bring you the finals. As I mentioned, $32,000 on the line for these last 4. It's going to be right here on the Disc Golf Network. We're also going to see you on our Disc Golf Pro Tour YouTube page. We invite you to join us. That's going to be at 2:30 Eastern Time for the finals here at the 2021 Match Play Championships presented by Discmania. We'll see you at 2:30.